Hi, Romesh Srivastava here, Editor-in-Chief, SightsIn Plus. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe this for the HR news, for HR updates, and conversation with the top-notch CHROs. Today, we are going to discuss about the flexibility and employee benefits in 2023. Based on various reports, I can say that the year 2023 is going to be employee-centric year, and the employee experience that will be more important rather than ever. The organizations that will more focus on the flexibility, on the work-life balance, leaves, and I think more on the employee benefits part. So to discuss in detail these all the issues, today we have two eminent HR leaders. Let me introduce Mr. Madhur Mehta. Madhur is the Senior Director, Global Compensation at Boston Consulting Group. And another eminent HR leader is Ms. Gauri Das. Gauri is very popular on social media, and currently she is working as a Vice President and Head Human Resources at India Factoring and Finance Solutions Private Limited. So, Gauri, if I come to you first, so there are various reports. If I name that is the Gallup by Clint by OC Tanner, and these are the reports indicate that employees are feeling the burnout. They are quitting their jobs. They are leaving the jobs. They are looking for the more flexibility. So, in such a scenario, what is your realization? How the organization can be more flexible in the challenging and changing work environment?
Thanks, Romesh. I think very pertinent question in today's era because every organization is in different phase today. Some are completely back to old days. There are organizations, while we were talking during COVID days that it would never happen, but we are seeing it is happening. And talking about my industry, banking, it is happening. Some are still on hybrid mode, and some are still operating from home. Some of the IT companies, product companies, it is this is the scenario. So in today's time, when we are asking people to come back, and I will share my experience when I had to start going back, flexibility was the need of the hour. You cannot tell employees now that you have to come at 9:30 a.m. and you have to log out after a certain hours, because things have changed. And what has changed the most is mindset. Even if some managers are still going the old ways, but employees and most of people have understood that flexibility has its own advantages. While we have to take care of those team meeting times and those times where we have to come together, we have to take care of engagement as well. But flexibility is need of the hour. And if I have to define flexibility, in my own time I would like to do things, so I would not be like to bound by the timings or restrictions. Yes, if there are commitments, I'm available, but allowing me my space would be flexibility for me. And I think if organizations are focusing on this, they will be able to retain talent. Otherwise, there are a lot many opportunities today, and in different sectors great resignations impact is coming out differently. It started in IT, but for rest of the sector it is still very much there. We are in thick of great resignation. If I talk about BFSI, just few months ago, one bank released their data and it was like 76% attrition in front office roles. So in certain sectors it is still great resignation, and we need to rely on most of the things that we have learned in COVID, the flexibility, the engagement piece of it, to retain talent.
So, Madhur, what is your take on this? And if I can also add a supplement question that what are the factors that should be considered when the organizations are designing the flexible work policy?
Yeah, thanks, Ramesh. Good to be speaking with you. First of all, I think I agree with Gauri. I think most of the points, I think all HR leaders will resonate with that. I think we are at crossroads. In the pre-COVID, era, there used to be something that we used to call accommodation, right? When I say accommodation, I do not mean HRA related accommodation. It was more of a permission-based employee flexibility. So it was more employer driven, and things have changed now. Now it's no longer a permission now, and organizations used to kind of use flexibility as part of a novelty offering in the pre-COVID era. Now it's an employee need. So in the pyramid of what employees need to be retained, to feel attracted, to feel, stickiness to your organization, there is, it's a no-brainer. You need, workplace flexibility. So it has become, a real, integral part of your employee value proposition now, compared to some, organizations trying to look at competitive advantage by talking about workplace flexibility. So that's a big change. Then we used to have something called boundaryless working. Now, boundaryless working was again more around workplace flexibility, but again employer driven. So if I was a large IT giant in the 90s, and I wanted my workforce to be spread across 24/7 across different geographies, I would give them that leeway to structure their work. But again, it was employer driven. It wasn't based on measuring workplace sustainability. It wasn't really looking at well-being. So workplace flexibility is now conjoined with employee well-being. So I think that's very, very important. Employees are now choosing their next employers based on this. They are leaving their employers based on lack of workplace flexibility. To your second question, in terms of how or what factors employers are looking at, primarily there are 3 or 4 key factors that drive workplace flexibility. I think if I was to talk about the first and foremost, is schedule, right? How do employees, what's the leeway that I have as an employee to manage my schedule? Which can basically mean I can choose my hours, I can choose my days, I can have a compressed work week. So that's really around schedule. Then it's the place, whether I work remotely, whether I work on site, or whether it's a hybrid arrangement. Then you come to continuity, and continuity is nothing but leaves. Do I, again have to apply and go through an arduous process of applying, and then my manager kind of approving 100 types of leaves for me to have, have that feeling of being there for my family, or being there to attend, a regular task. So I think if you were to look at 2 or 3 of such factors, the only thing I would say we can concentrate more on as the HR fraternity is workload flexibility. We've spoken about workplace flexibility. We haven't spoken about workload flexibility. It doesn't mean that, you're okay to come for 2 days, but in those 2 days, I want you to work 90 hours. In 48 hours, I want you to work 90 hours. That is not possible. So workload management, where I see whether in frontline workers, can I swap my shifts? Can I share workload? These are the things that we are also looking at when it comes to designing workplace flexibility. So I would say these 3-4 factors will play a key role as we move ahead and look at workplace flexibility in 2023 and beyond.
So, Gauri, as Madhur, he shared with us that the workplace, this is the one factor. Second, working hours, the second factor. Third, the work schedule, that may be the third factor. Would you like to add something else into this? What the other factors that may be, which we can see new in 2023?
I think Madhur covered everything. So all 3 Ws that we talk about, the work, the workman, and the workplace, all 3 things, I think it's covered beautifully. So flexibility in all terms. And what is also happening that I'm seeing currently is people are given this flexibility because there is pressure from organization, but then they have to uh, face those repercussions also, because managers are not aligned at times. At times there are colleagues, say for example there are different departments. Some departments are working on the numbers or IT technology, or other departments are working on, say, papers. Those who are working on papers, they need to be in office, and who are not, they can be away from office. So in such a scenario, while flexibility has been brought in, the mindset is yet to change completely, because people are still of the view that things cannot happen beyond those 4 boundaries of the workplace. So I would say this one more thing should happen for the flexibility options to succeed. Because if I take flexibility and tomorrow I have to hear back from someone, I would not be very happy about it. So while organizations have done it because of, I would say, the biggest pressure was great resignation, but it is yet to go deeper down in the culture to become the culture of the organization.
So Gauri, if we look at the current scenario, so a lot of jobs are coming, which are also the part-time kind of job, and this is also because of the flexibility. They're looking the flexibility. If we look for the remote team, so how we can manage, we can also define some of the jobs that how much of the flexibility may be there, that who may come to the office and for how many hours that employee may come, can he or she also work from the home. So we are also trying to work on the very micro level, that where the flexibility can be given, how the more the organizations may be more flexible. So similarly, that also comes when we talk about the leaves. So already a lot of leaves are there. If we talk about the if we talk about the 2020 and 2021, we have seen, even in 2022 we have seen the parents care leave, the parental leave, the menstrual leave, the pets care leave. Lot of new leaves we have seen. So how do you see in 2023? Do you see there will be any new leaves? What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think to your first part, that when people are working remotely, what kind of flexibility, because they are already working remotely. So I was in Bangalore a few weeks ago, and I was on my annual leave, annual holiday, and I went to gym in the afternoon in the hotel, and there was someone who was already working, and they inform that they come here as a um, like they are already there, they are working, and they come to gym at this point of time. So when it comes to remote flexibility, then you do not expect that is going to be 9:30 to 5:30 or 10 to 5. It can be work based flexibility. So if things are there, you are available. If they are not, then you can do things in your own course of time. So that would be the first piece. Talking about leave, so some interesting leave that I'm hearing is one is breakup leave. So as we have more and more Gen Z in the system, we will be moving towards what they are looking at, how they look at life. So my teenage daughter, sometimes she says, I don't want to go to school today. And I remember, recollect our days when we were in schools. If we were to say this, eight par jayega, and you are not going to stay at home, you have to go to school. So just like that, these people also think differently. So for them, the leave can be different. Like some MTs or some youngsters in the organization that I am connecting with, sometimes they will say, I need an hour's time off. So time off can be even during the day. It was not usual so far. So a lot of different things. There is leave to protest. Even that is there in Western countries. We don't have it as yet. So I think whatever requirements people are coming up with, we will be having some provision for it. So if I have to put it in one statement, it would be like creating a handbook for each and every employee. So a customized handbook for every employee, and that's where more and more flexible options, more and more leave options would also be added. So I'm looking forward to hear some more interesting leave which will come up in 2023.
Madhu, what is your take on this? What new leaps you see in 2023?
Well, I have a very radically different view on leave types. If you were to ask a Gen Z employee to choose a handbook of 100 policies versus, having a two-pager crisp, policy leaflet, it's most likely that the person will choose the latter, right? Gen Z hates labels. Gen Z and the next generation that's coming, I don't know if it's already been called alpha or something, but that generation hates labels, hates categorization. We have seen a number of organizations, talking about unlimited leave. And when you talk about unlimited leaves and then try to bucket it down, you're doing nothing more but adding more administration hassles for yourself. The more leave types there are, and if I want to avail, each of those leaves, I have to apply for all these leaves, again and again. Why would I want to do that as an employee? So the way I would say, I would end the categorization. I would not introduce a new leave type. What I would do is say, I'm not going to track you. That's part of my flexibility. And with flexibility, I'm kind of conjoining the trust part, as well. So if you want to go and protest, like Gauri said, or if there is a breakup, it doesn't matter, you take leave. But you don't need to go to the HRIS system and apply, and your manager, you don't need to explain to your manager that, there's been a breakup or I want to protest against some new government policy. Take that leave. Till the time your work is being done, productivity is there, you're feeling good about taking that leave, I'm fine with that. And that's what I would want my Gen Z employees and even my older generations to feel, that I'm not bound or caged, by a policy framework when it doesn't need to be. So that's how I would see it. It's a radical thought, but I would just kind of free the Gen Z from the shackles of laborious HR policy requirements.
So that is interesting. Means we can see the more leaves, but categorization, that is outdated now. So okay, so moving to the next question. So Madhur, if you see that the carrot and stick theory, that is also outdated somehow. And if you talk about this year, so obviously as we are talking that the well-being, wellness, flexibility, the work-life balance, that is going to be the topmost priority for any of the organization. So in such a scenario, how do you see what the employee benefit trends we can see in this year 2023?
Well, as I said earlier, I think it has become a core employee ask, workplace flexibility. It is a core employee ask. And I would say we have to kind of be mature enough to understand that there are no gender stereotypes anymore to workplace flexibility. There is a study, and there have been repeated studies around women actually, being 50% more likely to absorb any new flexibility of workplace flexibility offerings compared to men, right? There is also a stigma related to workplace flexibility, at least in our country. So what happens is, if I'm a manager and I am in a way old school, not really talking about employee well-being from a flexibility standpoint, what would happen is, and it happens in the biggest and the largest of the organizations operating in India, is that I will celebrate an employee who has worked on a day when they were supposed to be on leave. Now that needs to stop, because we do not need to make heroes out of those who still do not value workplace flexibility. In fact, I would celebrate those who've actually taken it on them to say that there was, an issue. I wanted to have some flexibility. My organization was there. My manager was there. I took, advantage of workplace flexibility. And here I am feeling good the very next day or the very next week and doing well. So I would say walking the talk on workplace flexibility is very, very important. You would see that, the number of companies that are really talking about unlimited leaves or 3-day, 4-day work weeks are mainly new age startups, right? And for them, it's again an external value proposition that you would want to attract employees. Whether they succeed in actually continuing these new workplace flexibility initiatives or not is yet to be tested, because a lot of them have kind of given it all away and come back to old school 5 days a week. I think organizations that are pioneers in innovation in their fields continue to ask employees to clock 9 to 5, continue to ask for biometric, punch in, punch out in offices. And I don't want to give big names because, I don't want to get in trouble. But the bottom line is that we just need to mature as a corporate, as a corporate being. And we need to make sure that, we really walk the talk, as I said. So I would say, those fundamental changes, mindset shifts is required more than us writing new programs for our employees.
So, Gauri, what is your take on this? How do you foresee the employee benefit trends in this year, 2023?
Yeah, I think I fully agree with Madhur. It's all demand driven, and whatever people are looking at, because you want your employees to be happy, engaged, high level of employee experience. So then you have to go by what is required. It's no longer what you think is working the best, and that's where we talk about design thinking in HR today. So I think all the 8 dimensions of wellness, if we have to create a structure, we need to look at all 8 dimensions of wellness there and bring in policies and programs accordingly. And like Madhu said, it's a different spectrum. So startups can bring in anything at any point of time, but a structured organization, would they be able to bring it and run it, sustain it as well? Because we see lot many times people bring in policies, but they are not sustainable. They have to roll it back. So those things make the whole thing even more dirtier. So what I would say, that if we have to create a framework, look at all the 8 dimensions. We were working on physical already. There was some work going on even in the spiritual and mental and emotional space as well. But we were not talking about spiritual. We may bring in these aspects, the financial well-being, that can be another thing. Environment, that is also an important aspect. So now we know that purpose drives people. So I think a lot of things can be done around purpose, and we have seen studies proving that this generation, and like Madhu rightly said, even the alphas are being driven by purpose. So that can be another thing around which we can work, and it has to be driven by people. And HR needs to be really proactive in understanding, have their ears and eyes open so that they know what is being done. But here also a word of caution, that you should not pick up everything that your competitor is doing, because what works best for them may not do anything good for you.
Madhur, when we are talking about the younger generation, so now, especially post-COVID, the job security, that is also very important factor, and health, well-being, if we talk about the financial well-being as well, along with the health well-being. So insurance also plays a very important role into this. And as an organization, that is the responsibility of the HR leaders that they take care of this. So, what you see that what are the emerging insurance plans that we may see in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think on that, interestingly, late 2022, or rather quarter 4 2022, IRDI came with a set of instructions. In fact, it came out with an order saying that, mental health needs to be part of your, health insurance offering. So in a way, it forces employers, to have better inclusions, better coverages, at least in terms of scope of coverage, for their employees. So, and there is, I think, a clear realization that plain vanilla employee health insurances, are no longer going to be, the order of the day. You would definitely see coverage where you'll see telehealth, you'll see virtual health, guidance provided to employees. EAPs, employee assistance programs, would be strengthened and integrated with insurance programs. So I think we also need to tread with caution, because this is also an year of, recession and high inflation, and which means, and over the last 2 to 3 years, per unit, health insurance premiums have gone up considerably. So what you're trying to build is, you're looking at cost optimization, you're looking at coverage optimization, and you're making sure that your wellness pillar is adequately represented in your insurance offerings now. So long story short, Ramesh, I would say that we would see better integration of all things wellness added to the already existing health insurance plans, to be better communicated. One, to be designed, to be rolled out, to be better communicated, because the last thing you want to do is have an integrated health insurance program for your employees, having spent a lot of effort, money, time in integrating this mental health, employee wellness part to it, and then it's not being availed. and you're still seeing people break down and sustainability still being an issue. So I think that would be a key trend. I would again keep it very simple. I would try and make sure that my employees feel adequately covered for physical health injury, for mental health injury. They can get treated wherever they want. The process administration part of it is simplified with the new age one-click apps that you have now, claim administration and easy. So I would just give them a better all-round employee experience with insurance plus added coverage. So kind of giving them a 360-degree experience on the entire, health insurance part.
Gauri, we have only 3-4 minutes now. I want to cover also this 4-day week. Actually, it is not implemented by the government of India, but it is here. Even some of the companies in maybe in European companies, if we talk about, they are trying to implement this 4-day week. How do you see if it is implemented in India? Maybe some of the industries they can start on the trial basis as well. So how do you see what the pros and cons of this 4-day work week?
Yeah, I think good thing would be again flexibility, because you have 4+3 structure. There is like you get more time to do other things like people in West do. After 5 p.m. they have a different life which we don't have here in India. But the same thing goes against it as well, because we don't have a mindset wherein we stop by the clock. Right, it's not there as yet, and it might happen that per day 12 hours one, it's not good, because for us even the infrastructure is an issue. And if I have to go to work, especially as for example I am in Mumbai, so I might be spending 2 to 3 hours in travel, 12 hours if I have to work to get this uh, 4 days week, then overall my day would become life will go haywire. So these things we need to take care of first before we jump onto this. And I think in India, we are still not ready for this, because we are still seeing that those things that COVID taught us, even those are not being implemented as yet. We are going back to old ways of doing things. Then manufacturing, it cannot happen. So I would say there are definitely some positives, but if we look holistically, I think 5 days week as of now works better.
Madhur, any of your quick comment on this?
I think I resonate with Gauri's points. And interestingly, when the industrial revolution took place, and I mean, whoever has worked in manufacturing would have studied industrial revolution. People were working 70, 80 hours, 6, 7 days, the entire week. Then Henry Ford brought in this concept of 5-day working in late 1920s, early 1930. I don't remember the year, but vaguely at that time. That rate, everyone thought, come on, 80 hours, 70 hours week to 40 hours. And that revolutionized, the working week. So now we are talking about 4 days week. So everything is possible. However, I do feel that companies are just trying to latch on, get on the bandwagon without really realizing that it requires a number of shifts in their business model, in their working model, in the work processes. And it's not just, tomorrow I'm going to offer a 4-day week. You're going to ruin the company and you're going to create more layoffs than you would have thought. It's a noble idea. It's something that may be the future. Things are still in the trial phase, even in the West. In India, few organizations are still trying it, but there's no empirical solid evidence right now that it is for everyone. So I think we can possibly
Right.
out of certain pockets, but see where it goes.
Yeah. So if I try to conclude, so of course the organizations, those are more flexible, and they're offering the more rich employee experience, and focusing on the work-life balance. So definitely they are going to win the game in 2023. So thank you, Madhur, and thank you, Gauri, for joining us and for a nice conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.